Hi, how are you doing? I hope things are working out for you in this course. I'm having a great time talking to you, even though you can't see me and I can't see you. But I really hope that you are getting a lot out of this course. I'd love hearing from you. If you want to drop me a line, I can be reached at maria@sociablemedia.co. Now we're going to be talking about content calendars. And I love content calendars because they take away the overwhelm. It gives some organization and a little bit of structure behind your social media efforts. And the next few slides, I'm going to show you the best ways and how to create a content calendar and how to maintain one throughout the year. But first, it may sound ridiculously complicated at the beginning. But if you put it together with a systematic approach, it can be pretty straightforward. And here's how. The goal, you got to make sure you have a really good goal. But, a content calendar, it lets you look at the year in advance. It lets you visualize it, and visualization is a really great thing. So it allows you to plan it around key events that are coming up in your company, or important dates that are happening. They could be holidays. It's where maybe you're going to have a new product launch or what have you. It's a good way to plan content around those key events. It's also a good opportunity to recognize where those gaps are in your plan. Maybe you're too heavy on one month and pretty weak on another one. So it gives you a good chance to visualize and lay it all out ahead of time. Make sure you have your content ready in time. Plenty of time to publish. And it's really nice to know, let's say it's the month of April, you're knowing what you're going to be doing in the month of May and June. It's good to look in advance and plan those out. It helps you, if you have expertise in a certain area, it lets you build that expertise. It really, you become the go-to person for certain things that are within your industry or within your niche. Looking at the year ahead, you might see several industry events like conferences that you're going to attend. You can plan content around that. You might, of course, it's always great to be reactive as well and adapt. Something could happen within your company. You might win a major award. You might want to really promote that. So it's really good to be flexible. So I'm going to show you 6 steps on how to build your content calendar. The first one is to identify your topics and, of course, your audiences as well. They go hand in hand. So it's not good to publish only to a single audience. Of course, if you're a product, you might have people who are within certain age groups. If you are a clothing apparel line, you might have men's apparel. You might have certain demographics within that men's apparel. You might have children's wear. So think of it that way. Most businesses have several groups of stakeholders and customer types, just like the personas as you're going to be putting together. So it's not the job of one person, which might feel really good to hear right now because it shouldn't always be the onus on one person. It's really great to bring all the other departments that are involved. Sales would certainly like to be involved in the content planner, the marketing department as well, customer services, so if any of those tricky questions come up, they know how to answer them, HR, etc. The more people that you have involved in putting together your content plan, the better, because they also want to feel involved as well, and you'll get a lot of buy-in because people, if it's important for sales team to reach their sales target, well, the content plan is going to help them reach those sales targets, and so on. So how you do that, you need to decide the weighting around the content. So the weighting means, you need to look at maybe 75% of your buyers, get product A. 10% of your buyers look at product B. Or then there's the 10% of existing, 5%, and then so on. So weight it down in terms of where you're going to focus. You don't want to be focusing on a product that may not get as many returns as another one. Or maybe you do want to do that. Maybe you want to give more recognition to one because you really feel like it's not being focused on enough. You need to look at that. But divide it up in kind of person hours and what type of content you want to put out. And put a monetary value to it. You want to spend your time wisely because you know what? Time is money. Review your content access. assets. You probably have stuff just lying around, and it's been stuff that may be 2 years old or 3 years old or a few months ago that, yeah, we should like dust that off. It could be something that's really valuable right now. So they could be in the form of presentations that could have been done before. Maybe the sales team did a bang on presentation a few weeks ago. You may not know about it until you talk to the sales manager and like, oh, yeah, okay, I'm going to share that. There might be some little pieces and nuggets in there you can extract, maybe make a blog post or put together on some helpful tips on Instagram or your Facebook page, what have you. You might want to look at some data, some surveys, or some findings that you have from your finance department. You can create infographics, or you can maybe make quotes that you can share or put together some news stories or add to your blog as FYIs. Expertise of your colleagues. There's a lot of subject matter experts that are within companies and businesses. So make sure you ask them, if they want to perhaps be involved in a video or a podcast. Or maybe you can interview them, and it could be a blog post, or it could be a series of blogs, or it could be some tweets that you might want to get out of that with quoting that person within your organization. It's a wonderful resource. I've done that before. It's worked really well. A lot of people do white papers. They can be rewritten for the blog format because blogs aren't long. White papers are a lot longer, so you might want to really extract the most important materials and put them in a blog post. And as well, speaking of blog posts, old ones can be updated and brushed off with updated and fresh information. So, you'll get a lot. I mean, for example, from my experience, if I'm looking at things from 2 years ago, I see content everywhere I look. Maybe it's just I have a trained eye for it, or I can put a creative spin on things. But if you look carefully, content is everywhere. And the more people you talk to, maybe it's someone at the water cooler or somebody in the coffee room, and you just strike up a quick conversation, you'll find a lot of content. For me, staff meetings were invaluable. That is where everyone got together and shared, because if you work for a large organization, sometimes you don't know what one department is doing from the other, but staff meetings are really interesting. You can find out a lot of nuggets, and then after the meeting, you can take that person aside and say, hey, that's really great. We can probably get some really great tweets out of that. Let's figure out a way of how we can disseminate that information and share it, all for the content calendar. So an infographic, can support a blog post. There's a lot of great ideas here. So repurposing, it takes away some of the strain. If you're finding new content, it can be draining, it can be kind of challenging sometimes, but really you have content right under your nose. But if you just need to know where to look and just be really creative with it. Editorial planning meetings. I love these. I used to have these all the time when I worked for corporations. And it's regular meetings between all those involved. And this is where you get buy-in. This is where you'll have somebody from another department in a few weeks' time saying, hey, Maria, this is happening next week. It'd be great if maybe you could come and maybe you can tweet during it, or maybe we'll take some pictures and we'll send you the picture of what we have. That's where you get buy-in. It's really important. So make sure you do it monthly when you meet with everyone involved. It could be the customer service team, the finance team, the sales team, the marketing team. And for sure the sales team will want to be interested, because definitely the sales team, they're outward facing. They're going to want to know their product and make sure that it's being professionally presented. So you can have them monthly or quarterly and just kind of do a review. You can also share stats as well and how the other months have been performing. These meetings can support the social media activity. So you may want to talk about the upcoming email newsletter. You might want to gather some topics from there. It's wonderful. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a chance to look at analytics and see how things have gone. You might want to see, okay, this post worked really well. This post really just kind of bombed. It didn't do great at all. So we might want to relook at how we position that. So it gives people a good understanding of what's working well and what's not. It's really great to have an agenda. Of course, as you know, when you're getting a few people together, it's good to have a list in an order of how the topics that you want to talk about, and then people can follow along a little bit better. That's what I suggest. So the editorial planning for the year. So it gives you a bird's eye view and lets you visualize everything. So what you plan? You'll look at events, so they can include holidays, in-house events, conferences, industry events, that sort of thing. You'll likely want to publish content associated with those events. And if there's a hashtag that already exists, get it. If there isn't one, make one. Themes. Themes can include content that are related or connected to each other. So this is a blog series. Perhaps February being Heart Month, or maybe there's a certain month that you can theme it as you want, or you can have Tip Tuesdays where you have a really great, interesting tip. You could have a webinar Wednesday. You could have a follow Friday type of thing. So you can theme it as you want, keep it, make sure it's consistent as through, and people will enjoy that. And it'll also make the content creation a lot easier for you as well. Okay, Tip Tuesday. Okay, I can probably do like 10 tips in a row, all so easily done. And then you've got 10 weeks of content every Tuesday taken care of. So make sure you want to publish, maybe you want to publish an ebook in January, April, or July. So maybe you want to do a video in September. So you can look ahead and see what needs to be done for that video in September. Say it's April or May, what steps you need to take that will lead up into September. Maybe you want to look at the storyboard for the video. What are the key points that you want to get across? How it's going to be tweeted before, after, and during, that sort of thing. Let you lay it all out. The other good question, a lot of people ask this, is how often to post. When you're scheduling your content calendar, you really want to make sure that you're following kind of the industry standard. And it can be a little overwhelming if you're looking at it all at once. But once you're there, it's super easy, especially if something like Hootsuite where you can schedule. So Constant Contact, they're an email subscription service. They have the following guidelines. So with Facebook, 3 to 10 times per week. Twitter, at least 5 times a day. LinkedIn, 2 to 5 times a week. Google Plus, 3 to 10 times per week. Pinterest, 5 to 10 times per day. And if this is really challenging, I really think that it's quality over quantity. Make sure you're not throwing a tweet out there and you're just throwing it out there because you have to do it. Make sure there's a little bit of meaning and a little bit of actions involved with your tweets or with your social media efforts. Strongly recommend that. So how often to post? Let's say you have a blog post. Let's take that. You're going to publish the blog post. Then after the blog post is published, you might want to go to post that on Twitter right away and say new blog post and put the URL and a little bit of description behind it. Share it immediately on Facebook and Google+. Tweet it 2 days later with the title. Post it a week later, ask it as a question. Tweet as 1 month later with the title. And share on Facebook 2 months later. So just from one blog post, you already have some content that you can put into your content calendar, just from one blog post. Where to source content. Now, there's some really great ideas here. This is called Scoop It. It has a free version that allows you to follow topics that are relevant. You can quickly fill it up in entire months of social media content. So if you can just park it there and come back to it later. With sharing links, there's also BuzzSumo, which is really interesting. Allows you to type in any website domain or a keyword and boom, it will come up. So with social media, if I was looking for articles related to social media management, boom, everything would just come up there. And then I can really just kind of weed out, can save it for later to look at and maybe have some ideas down the road. And Feedly. Feedly is really great. It's kind of an aggregate, it aggregates all the information, all the publications. So these 3 are pretty much my top 3 ones for how to source content. Really helpful. That is your content calendar. Also in this module, I give you some templates as well, or one template that you can download and fill it in. And if you have something like Hootsuite, and I know I've also put a link to Hootsuite, if you don't already have it, really recommend that you do get it because it allows you to schedule all your social media in advance. And it's really helpful because it takes the pressure off. If you have the pro version, it allows you to schedule. And I know in the 30-day trial, you have that pro version. And I think it's a nominal investment if you wanted to purchase it as well. So that is the creating your content calendar and the tips to how to make one. And I'll see you again.